family. Good morning, sun warriors, and good evening, moon dancers. My avid listeners, I'm so happy you're here with me today. It's Sally, your trusty co-pilot on this great flight. Akandara, the whispering voice among the stars. This is the Roar and Resonance podcast, and thank you for being here. So, I want to take a moment to just, let's prepare ourselves. I'm feeling a lot of energy that's coming from yesterday and today. And so, let's prepare ourselves as we dive into the depths of our shared stories. These tales that are channeling through right now, from the divine to me. The divine is living through me, a human with a cosmic soul. So let's take some deep breaths and ground ourselves into the field, into our seat, into our bed. And as we're settling in right now, I want us to explore what's showing up for you today. And I want us to remember that this is a sacred space, a sacred container that has the capacity to hold all of our realities. It is a sacred container that is connected deeply, so deeply rooted into Mother Gaia, and is witnessed and nourished and co-created with all that is the divine. So with that, I truly want to dive into: how are you feeling today? How are you doing? What is in your field? What is landing for you in this moment? So in today's episode, I'll share reflections of yesterday's personal expressions for the Eight of Cups, while also introducing the energy and wisdom of the Six of Swords. And what I find so riveting is how continuous these two cards are related with one another, but also how different these two cards are. So while I would love to jump all around, let me start with, what's landing in the field for me today? What's personally coming up? And I woke up with this heaviness, with this deep heaviness. I was at the center of my heart space, this feeling, this anxiety. It's all encapsulated. And the thoughts that ran through my head were ones of worries, regrets, anger, worries and regrets and anger of what? Of your usual humanly things that are happening, that are showing up, that a boundary is being crossed, of things about around money, things around opportunity, things around love. And I felt this, coming from yesterday, right? It was like this grief and sorrow that's coming with the realization that you need to make some steps, some changes. And then as I wake it up, it's like feeling the regret or the thoughts of like having to make these uncomfortable changes. And these changes that are meant for my highest good. Like, so messy. And I wanted to shift blame. I wanted to shift the blame on someone, on something, on some person, place, whatever. Just shifting the blame for the hard times. Shifting the blame for simply this predicament that I'm in. Fueling that blame was disappointment of expectations around accountability, around what happened, around what could have been, and now what shall no longer be. I wanted to rush over. I wanted to point fingers. I wanted to shift the blame, but I didn't. This is my turning point. Because I realized like I didn't that method, that set of reactions, they don't align with how I want to live my life, or even to go about that situation in that particular way. So instead, I brewed a cup of tea, burned some sandalwood, and I sit here writing, speaking, and expressing my thoughts. What I am doing right now through this process, I am realizing and recognizing this cycle, this loop of chaotic thoughts and emotions that leads to just a reaction. And as I deepen into this experience and this wisdom, I am beginning to see just how much my desires, my intentions have fueled this moment, have manifested into these moments. So what do I do? What am I doing right now? I am holding space and witnessing how uncomfortable these emotions can be. And I'm sitting with them. I'm being curious around them. And I'm allowing myself to see the truth that's coming up. And the seeing the truth is not always comfortable, but it sure does add a little bit more clarity. And truth is also part of my manifestation and desire to be with people who live the way, who see the truth, who are ready to feel the rawness of their emotions, to be vulnerable. And so, after another sip of tea right now, after another sip of tea, I dove into how I myself played a role in this predicament. I enabled, dismissed my emotions, forsaken my own power to express my own needs for the fear of what? For fear of not being loved. What if I were to express all of me and it's not reciprocated, it's not received well, if it's not loved, if it just makes other people uncomfortable? So these uncomfortable feelings that I get when I witness another's discomfort collapsing on my own, what if I were to witness their uncomfort and then I collapse? And I collapse on my own resolve, and I don't uphold my own boundaries. Fear of the uncomfortable truth of what is, fear of what it means to be in the fullness of my being. And that can mean recognizing that people who were once considered comfortable are now foreign. To come into realization that the truth that was laid bare in front of me is an uncomfortable truth, and a truth that can be heartbreaking. So yesterday, I invited more ease into my life with a walk in the bone-chilling cold while basking in the warming sun. Just how contrasting is that? So I sat on a nearby bench and I listened to the birds singing, and my worries were lifted, my sorrows were going away, and I felt the fullness of my sorrow and grief interwoven with this joy, peace, and hope of what desires would lead me to. And again, just how funny is the contrast, but the similarities of this moment. And this leads me into the energy and wisdom of the Six of Swords. You know, in the Eight of Cups, there, you know, we witnessed that, you know, a person is walking away. We're realizing something, like these emotions that are coming up. We're realizing a truth where now we're choosing to walk away towards the rising sun, towards our joy, towards our happiness. And the rising sun is surrounded by this vacant land, the unknown, the in-between, and what is coming into our field was what no longer resonated and what we are walking away from. What are we walking away from? And what are we walking towards? And we were invited to invite more ease and grace into our life. How can we witness the fullness of our excitement and our grief? The sorrow of leaving something behind. The excitement of how our desire, our joy, our happiness, our love burns inside of us. But I feel like what I didn't talk about was the fear of what is to come. The fear of the unknown. Or maybe I did. I don't remember. But the fear that this new book, new chapter, new journey, what what if? It's these fear of what if. There's a great wonder and excitement that comes from it, but there's also this fear of not fully knowing exactly what's to come. And that fear of not knowing what's next, it is especially grating for all of those who love, all of us who love, myself included, to have control over what happens next. And what we don't have, and when we don't have anywhere to lean on. I think a huge thing right now in this moment, in this transition, is can we learn to lean more on ourselves? Can we learn more to come home within ourselves and lean on the divine a little bit more, a little bit longer? So as we enter and settle into the wisdom of today, there is a transition, a rite of passage, an opportunity to release the emotional, physical, mental, or spiritual baggages. But what feels most aligned right now is, and what wants to be acknowledged right now, is that this is a transition, a birthing process that is messy and beautiful at the same time. And this birthing process is coming after a series of days when the realizations that have been building up. And especially, it's very interconnected with yesterday's energy. Like what showed up for you yesterday, and now you're processing. You're in the middle of processing these emotions, these thoughts, these energy, and you're letting it settle within to your field. This is the integration process. This is the transition process. So this card depicts a person with a red cape being led to shore from the raging pouring sea to the sweet salvation of land. This transition is happening. Nobody's doubting that. This is the birthing process. And this person being cloaked in their ambitions and their desires, it's keep that ambition, that those desires are keeping them warm and safe, and they know that they are going there. There's a place. And through our heart center, through our soul's wisdom, through our body's expression, how does our body feel when we are triggered, when we feel safe? We've made choices around which path to take moment by moment. These choices steered us exactly to where we want to be. These choices are steered exactly by our heart's truest desires, our truest true north, our soul's purpose, and it's leading us somewhere. And all of these series of events, as messy and as uncomfortable as it is, they are a direct manifestation of what we truly desire, what is going to bring us peace. So what we see in these moments are like just a pinpoint focus, we have a very narrow focus of just the steps in front of us. And when we turn around, we can see some of this, the footpath, the steps that we took. However, like if we really, if we take a moment to widen our field of vision, take the blinders off, remove that narrow focus too, we would notice just how all these choices that we made led us to this moment, right? How these choices, the choices that we are making, don't make, or planning to make, are leading us all back to what? To you, to us, to the all of us. At the same time, I understand how hard it is to see the forest for the trees when life is made up of moments. It is hard to truly feel into that we are the divine in human flesh. So in these moments, as uncomfortable and as beautiful as it is to go through this transition, can we stay in these spaces a little longer? even if it's a little uncomfortable? Can these spaces guide us and teach us something deeper about ourselves? If we could allow it to reveal more wisdom within ourselves, what would it reveal? Why? The why. These spaces offer us the opportunities to learn, grow, and nourish ourselves until we are ready to say the thing that needs to be said, to be in the fullness of our power, being so unapologetically our authentic self that we are living the truths that resound itself in our body. To truly love so wholeheartedly what this life has to offer, regardless of the outcome. And if we take a moment to feel the width and depth of even these moments inside of us, we can truly feel, see, and know just how everything is unfolding just as it is. You're neither late nor early. You're exactly right where you need to be. This transition is happening. So as part of the transition, right, these emotions that are coming up, this is part of the shedding that we're going through. And there could be ugly crying. I'm not going to call it beautiful, ugly crying. As we are beginning to realize and witness the dissonance of our realities. Words and actions that do not align to our field, our truth, our body. And this dissonance can be very heartbreaking. I don't know if I said this yesterday but I remember saying, well, I don't remember if I said it in yesterday's episode, but I do remember saying it outside of the realm of this space, is that this dissonance of what is being said and what is being actioned on, they don't match, and it can be very grating. Especially when you have a conversation with somebody and they say all the right things, but then somehow when the same set of circumstances show up, they're not really living like all the things that they said. And that realization just not I want to say finally, in like the more like very humans and like finally seeing things for what is laid bare in front of us, seeing the truth as it is, it hurts. It hurts. And it's painful. So can we allow ourselves to just sit in these moments and just feel the fullness of our emotions, the range of it, and the depth of and width of our love and our devotion? And we begin to realize is there's no, as grating as it is, as heartbreaking as it is, we come to this conclusion, this place where we get to say from a place of empowerment too, of whether or not we want to continue to have that in our life, that particular maybe person, place, or thing, opportunities, toxic job, relationships, whatever it might show up for you. But do we still want that in our life? And that becomes a choice of our own making, like that we can hold. And as part of this birthing process, I'm also realizing a patterns of going to certain people to feel the fullness of an experience, to celebrate the fullness of an experience, desiring that from people who may not truly understand what it means to do that, or the fullness of that truth, who don't live that reality, who aren't exactly there themselves. It's like a child who continuously goes to that one parent for like compliments, for validation, offering all the love that we could have in our tiny little heart in hopes of love, when historically they've only offered us the bare minimum of compliments, and maybe to top it off, just given more about all the things that we need to do better of, doubts and worries and fears. But why is it that I keep coming back? Why is it that sometimes we know that can't be, but why do we keep going back to that one parent or that one person or that one circumstances for that validation? And I say this all with no judgment of the or blame or anything of the sorts. And I imagine the people who are listening here are also of that same frequency. You know, we're saying things from a place of no judgment and just simply just reflecting and owning any of the pieces that is of our own making. And this is all to live in a complete authenticity, in alignment to our soul. I know that we all have a path. We recognize that we all have a path that we have to take. So rather than focusing on who did what or anything of that sort, or was trying to shift blame or trying to make judgment, I want to reiterate is that this space is all about creating a space where we feel the fullness of our emotions and not judging, and with full intentions of the space being for people who are ready to kind of to live life in complete authenticity and are willing to dive into the depths of how messy and beautiful things can be. And I keep talking about birthing, but truly this is a birthing of a new you, a birthing of a new experience, a birthing of a new opportunity. And birthing is not easy. It is effing messy. It is, at the same time, so effing magical in many ways. And through the uncomfortable nature of witnessing the fullness of myself, I find gems. Oops. I find gems, wisdom that was in me all along, just as it is in you all along, in all of us all along. And I am now feeling the fullness of what it is to offer. You know, and through this transition that we are going through today, we don't have to make any immediate decision. The process takes time. Can you give yourself an extra bit of time to be within this chrysalis? Just to feel how you're magically transforming? I think just allow these wisdom, these truths that you're coming to realize that they're coming to know. Can you allow them to live within your field a little longer? And as I've been told many times, and as I'm beginning to realize, is that as we allow these wisdom to integrate within our field, the words and actions will come. Just as I shared initially around my first instinct to march on over and say what I wanted to say, just to say it off the cuff, I'm living and breathing the wisdom of just sitting with myself, of not reacting to that first instinct, not to follow the flow of how I've done things in the past or how my examples of life have shown me. People, parents, friends, relationships. No more. No more. Instead, I sat with myself. I am sitting with myself. I am sitting with my emotions and my body, and I lean into this process, into my art, into this space, and allow the decisions I want to make to live within this body. And I'm trying on variations of these decisions until one releases the tensions in my neck and body. And I truly feel that this week's story is a build-up to a turning point in our life. With the Eight of Cups yesterday and the wisdom of the Six of Swords today, I truly feel that we have always been what we have always desired is becoming clearer. And as we respect ourselves and value ourselves through witnessing all that we are, the range of what we feel, we simply are one step closer to who we always knew we were. Just the depth of the I am, the who we are, the magnificent of our being. So that was a lot to unpack and feel into. I truly hope that this message resonates with your journey, and I'm very curious to learn, and I would love to hear your stories of how is today's energy showing up in your field. Whatever you feel most comfortable to share, you don't even have to share. Totally up to you. I think it's sometimes very challenging to see what is truly most aligned with our path, especially if you grew up not having the examples of what is unconditional love, what does it mean to not dim your light, what does it mean to speak in a conscious and an intentional way. And just maybe I want to realize that from my own experiences, maybe we were just all taught to just survive. Like, how do I survive another day? How do I figure out things? Maybe we were just simply taught to just survive and not taught how to live, how to truly live. So be extra gentle with yourself today, please. I mentioned a lot about transitions and birth, and just as you're blossoming into this beautiful flower or preparing to break the chrysalis and cocoon to open your wings, it truly is all happening. No one doubts this great unfolding. It is part of your blueprint. Like, it's going to happen. One way or another. So you don't need to rush this process. Allow for those extra moments in your field. You are going to fly. I love you so much. Take extra care of yourself through this process, inviting grace and ease. Until next time, my love. The light within me sees the light within you.